Music is a world where people from all different backgrounds work together to create beautiful things. From Elvis Presley being influenced by the soulful black music of St. Louis, to Egyptian-born Australian Joseph Tawadros winning 5 ARIA awards, to Chuck Berry writing Johnny B Goode after witnessing Michael J. Fox play the song in Back to the Future. Music has always been a place where it didn't matter who you were or where you came from. If another artist is on the same page as you, nobody cares who wrote the book. On today's episode of Everyday Greatness, we'll be speaking to KARLA Ranby, executive producer of music programs on Triple J at the ABC, about whether diversity and inclusion policy dictates what music is played, or if it's as simple as best song wins. We'll also ask KARLA the bigger question: can music help bring the world together? To find out more about the power of music, let's speak to KARLA Ranby herself. KARLA, thank you for joining us and welcome to Everyday Greatness.
Thanks so much for having me, Barnes.
There's a lot of conscious forces trying to bring the world together these days. Why does music do it so easily?
Well, I think as you mentioned just before, it doesn't matter where you come from. You know, you can be an artist with very little. You can come from not a privileged background and have not gone to the best music schools and, had instruments, grown up around them. But I think you can be immensely talented at the same time. And I think too, music, similar to sport, I think is one of those forces that brings us all together. And we can probably see eye to eye when it comes to talent. And when we hear it, we just recognize it. You can just see it.
Very emotive answer. Thank you. So you are a guru of music, given where you work. In your eyes, which musicians have had the biggest influence on bringing the world together and why?
Oh, well, I think for me personally, and I think it's a really subjective question, but I think for me personally, in my background, so I'm a Gomeroi woman from Moree, the artists who have had a really big influence on me personally and my journey around music and what I do now for a living is, artists like the elders, I guess, who have paved the way for young Indigenous musicians today. So people like Uncle Archie Roach, Kutcha Edwards, Christine Arnoux, those artists who really paved the way, I think, for the young ones today to enjoy the success, those who were getting on stages first and, the first Indigenous artists to record albums and to make it on major labels. It's those artists for me that stand out.
Very cool. So you are personally responsible for playing a lot of good music on Triple J. Where did your passion for music come from? Were you an artist yourself?
No, and it's a funny thing when people ask me how I got my start. It's I think happened in an interesting way. I went to study journalism, and I really thought that I'd go down the straight news path and be a journalist, be a news journo. That's what I wanted to do. But I think you look for those doors that are opening to get into the media anyway that you can. And yeah, I knew I'd heard that they were looking for mid-dawners, so to do the graveyard shift on Triple J. So yeah, I went in and did some demos. I'd been interning everywhere though. And yeah, I June long weekend about 10 years ago, I got my lucky break. I think someone must have been sick on that long weekend, surely. But
or you're just really talented.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, and I think it was, I would say at that point, I'd always listened to Triple J, growing up in the country, loved listening to it. There wasn't a lot, else to listen to. So it was that link between, the country and the city for me as well. And then once I started working there, that's when I just started to really obsess about music. And so I would say I'm a listener more than a musician at all.
Fair enough. So you've got some behind the scenes information about choosing music on Triple J. Can you let us know how a song is chosen to play on Triple J?
Yeah, well, prior to my role currently, I worked in the music team for a long time. So working as the group music researcher and producer, I backfilled for a time as assistant music director as well. So Yeah, I think it's good for people to know how it works, and there are a lot of people involved in making the decisions, and I think it has to be that way. So you've got presenters who are involved in we get together and we have a meeting about what songs everyone's loving, and so it's a small music programming team, which I used to be a part of. And then also a couple of producers and presenters who all get together and we talk about what songs we're loving. And then I think there are about 8 songs a week that are added to rotation. So if you're thinking about the amount of songs that are being released each week, it's not many. So, and there are a lot of things that we think about when we're selecting. So it's, making sure we've got a good geographical spread, a mix of internationals and local artists, male and female identifying artists as well. I think there's a lot that goes into it, and also obviously the strength of the song.
Yeah, it's probably a fairly crucial one. That's a bit of inside information on Triple J song selections. But now I want to ask you another subjective question. If people want to feel good about the world we're living in today, what music would you listen to pick you up?
Well, yeah, and one of my current programs that I look after is Triple J's new music show, Blackout. So it's a program that we started a couple of years ago, just so that there was this outlet for, us to really showcase the breadth of talent that's out there in our communities. And I think, there are so many artists at the moment that I'd want to recommend, people like Ziggy Ramo. And if you haven't heard it's a reworked version of Little Things, the Kev Carmody and Paul Kelly classic from Little Things, Big Things Grow. I'd recommend checking that one out. I think it goes for something like 6 minutes, and it's an epic. And check out the film clip as well. It's him on the Opera House sales. First, it's stunning visually, but also just really powerful to listen to, and I guess a modern day reworking of that song, and there's a lot of truth telling in that song, I think, but also a lot of hope when you're listening to it. So I'd say people like Ziggy Ramo. If you really want to pick me up, Baker Boy, he is known for, just lifting the spirits. And I've seen him live many times, and I've even seen him when he was on the come up. I remember going to the National Indigenous Music Awards and presenting him with a award for Film Clip of the Year from memory. And he was so shy at that point. Like, he'd just started, and I still remember where I was sitting when I first heard his song, like his debut single, Cloud 9, and just hearing this young Yungu rapper like rapping in language for the very first time. I'll always remember where I was sitting when I heard that. But to see him go from strength to strength, be signed to a major label, and whenever I see him perform, it's something to watch. He's a dancer as well as a rapper, and he's just got this really infectious energy and teaching language at the same time. Baker Boy, Ziggy Ramo. Maisha's another artist who I adore. She's from a really small town in regional Queensland, Warrabinda. She's just got the most incredible voice. I heard her cousin recently as well is starting to come up. So there's a lot in the scene that I'd suggest you check out.
Very cool. From Little Things, Big Things Grow is one of my favourite songs. So
you better check.
Excuse me a minute. I'm going to go and do a Google search and pass you over to Scott Gibbons.
Yeah, you better check out that one.
Karla, you mentioned you add 8 a week to your playlist.
Yeah, so it's 8.
Out of how many are submitted?
Well, it's not really submission, but we get serviced so many songs a week. And I remember, I think when I was working in the music programming team, that's when you'd really see the sheer amount of music that you're getting. And I then just really prioritize listening, and you'd have a day where you set aside just to listen to as many songs as you could.
And do you listen to the whole song?
Yeah.
So all the producers, all the
programmers,
everybody, they listen to the whole song.
And with Triple J Unearthed, which is our platform for unsigned independent artists, the good thing with Unearthed, I would say, is that for that if you're uploading a song, you know that someone has listened to your song, because that's just the process for uploading a track to the platform that we go through. So yeah, I would recommend any aspiring musician to make sure you've got your tracks uploaded to triplejnf.com. And then it means you're also in the running to, our different competitions, but you never know. There are so many big artists like Flume who we found on Triple J Unearthed. Ruby Fields. I remember Ruby Fields, like the story goes that she was having a nap or something, and then the song had blown up. We'd played it, and just when by the time she woke up from her nap, her world as she knew it had changed. So yeah, Unearthed, I think, is for anyone who's coming up, just to make sure
changed lives.
Oh, I wouldn't say I have at all, but yeah, I think I particularly when I was presenting, I definitely got to feel how important it was for artists to have their songs played. And whenever artists would always reach out to me and say, thank you so much for playing this. And it might have been the first time that they've been played on the radio. And, you never forget how special that feels for you as well to play a part in that. But yeah.
Did you watch the John Farnham movie?
No,
recently?
I haven't yet.
Oh, you didn't?
I'll have to check that out.
You should. Because one of the things was that they spent their money, every money peso that they had on creating his record, and they took it around all the radio stations, and they all said no, until one said yes.
Well, that's all it takes, isn't it?
It happened, but it just meant that all the judges misjudged. Yeah,
and I think too, there's only a few songs that get added to rotation each week, but also a lot of presenters have their own choices as well, so you can get airplay in a number of different ways, and and be it starting at Unearthed and eventually getting airplay on Triple J or on our specialist programs. We've got a great show called Home and Hosed, which is just for Australian artists. So
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said that you get a few from overseas and maybe something from Australia and maybe a little bit of diversity.
We definitely, with Triple J, like definitely our focus is on Australian music. And just having that mix as well.
So how hard is it to choose your top 100 for the Australia Day playlist?
Oh, for the hottest 100, it's always really, really hard. Come up with a short list that's not very short. And honestly, that it's agonizing when you're so close to a lot of these songs, I think. Yeah, and I always tend to leave it to the last minute.
Now, the people who are listening to this can't see what I can see, which is this incredible smile. So you've got a terrific energy and a wonderful personality. So what makes you on?
Oh, good question. I think, when I'm thinking about, being on air. Oh, well, let's talk about that. Maybe when I was on air, because you can have those bad days when you're just, I don't know, rolling in, something's happened in your life, but you've got to be on. And I was talking to another broadcaster friend about this, and it's just, I think when that light comes on, you just remember how lucky you are to be in the position that you are as well. And I think for me, coming from Moree, small country town,
good place,
great place,
place.
I never really thought that this is what I'd be able to do for a living.
What were your dreams at the time?
Oh, well, so when I finished school, I thought I moved away to start studying law. I thought that's what I'd do. And then once I switched to journalism a few years into it, that's when I
So you went law, journalism, music?
Yeah. Yeah, well, journalism was sort of, I guess, still related, working in the media. But, it was definitely a few twists and turns there that were unexpected. But so to answer your question, I think it's just remembering how lucky I am, I think, to be able to do something like this. It's very exciting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
So what genre is your go-to?
I think when I was first starting out, it was more hip hop, and I loved the storytelling side of it. Honestly, I'm going back to my country roots a little bit. I love a bit of country music.
Yeah. Who's your favourite country artist?
Oh, who am I loving?
Doesn't have to be your favourite. Just
who I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Luke Combs in a couple of weeks.
Right.
I think everyone is. That was a really hard ticket to get.
You have to buy tickets?
Yeah, Morgan Wallen as well.
You have to buy tickets?
Oh, well, you know, now and then we go for reviewing purposes and everything, which is, it's another, it's very lucky to be able to go to so many gigs.
Do you have a favourite venue?
Yes. I love the State Theatre. It's so special to me.
It has soul, doesn't it?
It's just it's a beautiful building. It's so ornate, and, you know, when you're in, I love the way it sounds as well, but I've seen people like Uncle Archie Roach there. I've seen him a couple of times, but and I've seen him at Angel Place as well. But yeah, I think seeing him at the State Theatre, he was quite unwell at that stage. That was a couple of years before he passed, but he was supporting Rodriguez. And yeah, that's going to be a really special gig to me. Love going to the Opera House as well. That's a pretty special place to go. And, you know, keeping in mind a country girl being able to go to all of these venues, it's quite special.
So when you go to a concert, where do you like to sit?
Well, so depending on what kind of gig it is, sometimes I've been able to go be side of stage at different festivals, and that is really special. I mean, what you're able to see side of stage is really interesting, I find. But obviously the sound isn't as good, so it's best to be out there in the pit, I think. But sometimes I'll just go and hover at the back. If it's a standing gig, I'll just sort of be hovered at the back. Find it. Yeah, I like to have a little bit of space. Otherwise, seated's fine these days as well. I don't mind being seated.
Are you a selfie fiend?
Yeah, always.
Always.
Yeah.
So which is your favourite screenshot that you've got of you being
at a
selfied
gig
with someone?
Oh, selfied. Oh, okay. There's an artist named Benjamin Booker, and this was maybe 2014 when I'd started in 2013 at Triple J, and he was out. Go and check him out, Benjamin Booker. He's got a song called Violent Shiver. He's like from New Orleans, bluesy musician, blues rock.
Bit of gravel?
Very much. And I remember he played at this really small venue in Newtown, and it was so tiny. And I love those gigs as well, I will say, as much as the big venues, actually, the small ones where you go home and your ears are ringing.
Oh, really?
From it being a bit loud.
Right.
I think sometimes those are really special gigs because they're often when someone's just starting out, and also just how small the rooms are. I love that. But yeah, Benjamin Booker. So he was doing some promo at the ABC, and there's these big cutouts of the bananas in pajamas, and so you can stick your faces through. And so I've got one with me and him in B1 and B2 spots, and that's pretty fun.
And you B1 or B2?
Oh, I can't remember. I think I was B1.
Yeah.
And he was B2.
Yeah,
but I just remember the thing I love about that is just musicians sometimes when they're so big, you know, they can be a bit untouchable, but with him, he was just hanging out. I think I was backfilling, just working on reception at the time when I'd first started. And so he was in for a tour and promo, and the label rep that he was with was just lovely, and I was like, oh, can we get a photo? And he was like, yes, let's go down to the bananas and do it there. So I love that he'd initiated that, and he was just so fun. And you know, it's rare that you get to have interactions like that with musicians or anyone.
You're
like
so
that.
good. Well, that's it from Barnaby and me in terms of questions, but now what we want to do is just talk to you without questions.
Yeah.
But with questions of Barnaby. Barnaby's got one already lined up. He's given me the wave.
I've got one. I've got a hard
hit me, Barnaby.
So the music industry has always bravely questioned the status quo in society. Are we in a rebellion lull, though? Have we run out of things to complain about?
Interesting question. I mean, I don't know if it's as much complaining about, but it's sort of with musicians, they're always going to talk about their own life experiences and their own worldview. And I think sometimes, well, if I'm just thinking about it in the music that I'm regularly across, so say with the weekly First Nations music show that I program and produce, I think it's really important for, the generational experiences of, Indigenous people to be told, and a part of that is that truth-telling side of it. So I don't know if I'd say it's sort of like running out of things to complain about, but it's sort of just making sure that those stories are always being told.
So has the focus of the point of music shifted a little bit? Where it used to be questioning the status quo, now it seems to be more of a storytelling platform?
Oh, I still feel that every now and then there are songs that are doing that are always questioning what's happening.
Which ones?
Oh, gosh, off the top of my head, I can't really give you anything, Barnes. But yeah, every now and then I do feel
question,
like. But that's you stumped me. You stumped me.
Just call me Andrew Denton.
Oh, yeah. Even I'm just thinking artists like Camp Cope. Oh, they've actually doing their final shows together as a band. But, I remember some of the songs that they'd put out would just floor me. I'd sort of sit there and be like, I was not expecting that. And and as I said, when you listen to that Little Things song by Ziggy Ramo as well, I think you'll hear that too. And it's sort of just that next generation looking at, similar things. It's sort of what people have been talking about for many generations, but just how it's impacting younger ones differently. Yeah.
Well, you said that music floored you, but now a couple of Scotty's questions are going to floor you.
Oh.
So you've been interviewing lots of artists over the years.
Few.
Did you have regulated questions where you were told by their handler, don't ask this, don't touch that?
No, actually. I wonder if, that's a different experience for other, our Brecky and Drive presenters, who would be with the more high profile artists. But no, no, not that I can have come across any.
And what about strange riders where?
Oh, yeah. So when we went to recently the First and Forever Music Festival, which was an all Indigenous lineup at Hanging Rock in Victoria, actually it's going to stay with me forever. It was a lineup that was put together by Briggs, another artist you should check out, Briggs, but also Paul Kelly. So they'd picked the lineup together. And I just remember sorry, what was your question again?
Riders.
Oh, riders. Okay. So we were going around backstage and, asking people what was in their riders. And there's a band called King Stingray who you should suss out too. But King Stingray was saying that they've been requesting oysters in their riders forever, and that no one had come through. And I just thought oysters for, on the road is a really interesting request depending on where you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, King Stingray, you should suss them out as well. And talking, earlier we were talking about small rooms. That's probably one of my most memorable gigs, I think. They've really, the past year, have just blown us all away. And, they had several entries into the Hottest 100. And
King Stingray.
King Stingray. So they're
not the oysters. They're just trying to keep it in the family, aren't they?
Yeah. So they're generation, like the second gen Yothu Yindi. So, descendants of the band. And I just remember seeing them in a really small venue, and it was their first tour. And I just thought, oh, well, that's it for me. I loved that.
So your Christmas card list must be big.
Oh, no. Oh, well, I'm from a really big family. I'm one of 7 kids. So, yeah. No.
Good you.
But getting Christmas cards or sending them, do you mean?
Sending them out with all the artists that you've met.
Oh, no, it doesn't. No? I wouldn't say you get that close to them.
Really?
That way. No.
They just, once they've seen your smile, they'd want to stay in touch. Well, we've got to say goodbye because we've got to say thank you, firstly, to KARLA Ranby for joining us and we've got to say thank you to the ARA group who have been our sponsor for 6 years in a row. 6 years, isn't that generous of them? And we've got to thank you for listening, because we hope that we've helped you and every Joe and Joanne Bag of Donuts just realise that this is a real world that we're living in. So you get to listen to Everyday Greatness. But next week, we'll be trying to find out if you've got the reason to be proud of the life that you're living as a young person today, or if you're just trying your hardest and being proud of yourself whenever you win, lose or draw. So we hope you can join us for that one. But if you want to find out more about the show and listen to KARLA again, just go to the Everyday Greatness page at barnabyhowarth.com.au. That's Barnaby, BarNaby, Howarth, HOWARTH, barnabyhowarth.com.au. Or just follow us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn. And just thanks again for listening in, and tell your friends to listen in too. Thanks, KARLA.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, KARLA.